At this point, it would be good to be GS because you could get away with being very.
I know, but then you just get dignity.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you don't want to be known as that person.
I've done it before though in a scrub. I just think it's fucking out. Right then.
We have seen all the news and stuff. Must be, big news. Slow news day for that. Is there much happening today?
No.
One thing I've done is a 4G thing, but that's
That's right. That pops you up to 4G.
I'll just quickly.
So, shall I test whether you're getting the sound from this? Not that we can. Oh, okay.
Because on pre-record you can see it.
Should I do my tap like Simon did?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, great. It's a whole new room. But I love it. I actually haven't learned how to still learn how to tee that up.
This is,
Today's been great, yeah. Oh my god. We could be in a bit of place for presser, you know, sea views, sun's out.
That's another box.
No worries.
They might phone you back at the
I was actually just doing music on weekends, so yeah, but I mean I was thinking by 2:30.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. What you doing?
I went down to New Contact.
Can I just call Eileen and tell her to tell Alex what number to reach us on that number?
Yeah.
Or do you mind just calling? Just say.
If I call Alex, do you know?
Yeah. Is it in your contacts? It might be in contacts. So just go back. Normally these phones are pretty. And then go Alex. And just tell them, yeah, if they have any trouble, just call us.
I'll call it selling.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. I guess you could be up here, right?
Oh, hi Alex, it's Rowan. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. I'm at the Joseph Park Cafe. Just so you know that the live feed's coming through with my phone. So any problems, do you want to give us a call on my phone?
Tom Crank.
Oh, great. So it's all
Yeah, we do have them.
Okay,
but,
sounds good.
Apparently this was going to be better for this as well.
Okay, I'll just...
As long as I get a sore arm.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, bye.
centimeters and stuff better.
What a tune to get us in the mood too. Just looks at being getting the scoop.
Oh no. It's the battery.
No, no, just all the radios get here.
Oh.
Yeah, this one's getting cut off. And it's I don't know, usually monocost. Yes.
So the eyes. So is this how you can tell how many people are watching the eyes?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so you've already got 150. Jeez, it's gone up. Something like 1 second. Oh, my word.
I might need to turn this down and start.
Hello, Matt speaking. Yeah, I know. We're waiting. We're nearly there. No, we're using a handheld. Simon was up here and he suggested using a handheld. I will go stable when it comes time to record. Don't worry. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Good to hear. I'll keep the chat to a minimum. Yeah, it's great. Great tune. Great tune. All right. Cheers. See ya.
Sound going up a bit.
My panning skills are very, very good.
Yes, it's very cool.
So
But today is a good feeling. Usually they always go to the Wicked King. And in the public, in many classes, and it's terrible far away. Yes, also sometimes they go to the pasture. Very small pasture. So what do you think the news about? Is the news of the going to be taking place in Auckland?
Yesterday, obviously, our sound's already going out. Our sound live streaming.
This lots of channels do live stream. But this is not you. This is
No, that's not us. No, that's not.
So people have.
Okay.
Jim is using iPhone. That wasn't so good as this one. You don't have a, you have audio. Oh, he's using video.
Hi everyone, and thank you for turning up this morning for just an update on what's happening with the WBO World Heavyweight title fight between Joseph Parker and Andy Ruiz. To my right is Dean Lonergan, one of the directors of Duco Events. To my left, David Higgins from Duco Events. Now, David and Dean came together in 2009 after the Shane Cameron and David Tour fight, and as you all know, it was widely successful. It sparked a passion in them, and they wanted to do 3 boxing events a year. And they shared a vision to find a young, talented boxer who would commit to a long-term plan to challenge for the heavyweight championship of the world. And in 2012, as you know, Joseph Parker missed his shot at the Olympic Games. And these guys saw the potential, and this outrageous plan began. This opportunity that presents itself to us did not fall out of the sky. It has been done by design. They've surrounded themselves with outrageously talented people. Obviously, Martin Snedden and Kevin Barry are 2 that you know, but it would be remiss of me not to mention the sensational job that our girls do on those events that you come to. They are absolute superstars, the staff that they've surrounded themselves by. New Zealand has never had a heavyweight champion, and it's never had a heavyweight title fight in New Zealand. All this has happened in just 3 years. It's unprecedented, it's unique. I was just talking to these guys this morning and saying 2 years ago in the Brian Minto fight on 2014, Joseph wasn't even ranked in any of the 4 sanctioning bodies. It's been an absolute whirlwind. Now this will be an all-in press conference. There'll be no one-on-ones, and no one will be commenting from Duco for the rest of the day and likely tomorrow either. I'm going to hand it over to Dean Lonergan to say a few words.
Thanks. Right. Look, it's, you're well aware we did put an application into major events New Zealand, and we've studied the reaction of the public and the media and the politicians, and it's clear it has become political dynamite, a real political football. So we're aware our business does rely on public goodwill. We're selling tickets, we're selling pay-per-view television. We rely on the public, and that goodwill is important. We do not take it for granted. It's a shame to see that it's become divisive. We think this event, if it does happen in New Zealand, should be inclusive and certainly not divisive. It should be celebrating a landmark New Zealand sporting achievement and also New Zealand's event capability.
So on the back of what David just said, we've decided to withdraw our application to Major Events New Zealand. We'd like to thank Stephen Joyce and his team for contemplating what we had put forward, but as of now, we're taking it out.
So that means to hold the event in Auckland is going to be pretty tough, and so things are up in the air. I would say that in the past, Dean Lonergan and I have rolled the dice on some big, risky-looking things. The Downer NRL Auckland Nines, as an example, was new and risky. It's become quite a success. There's the David Tua Shane Cameron fight that Craig mentioned, Richard Branson in Auckland, the Brisbane Tens. So we're not immune to risky ventures. So
we're going to go away over the weekend and continue the work we've been doing, obviously for the last few months, but also for the last 3 years. We're going to have a look at our financial modelling yet again and try and delve deeper into it. I guess by ruling out any government involvement, it cuts down one stream of revenue for us. So, you know, last week or earlier this week, I said that there's probably a 70 to 80% chance this is going overseas. We're probably moving closer to 80%, and we need to make some serious decisions on the weekend, and maybe a little bit after that as well.
So what I'm going to do is open it up to open it up to questions. It's really important that you guys understand that we want all of New Zealand behind Joseph Parker, and hopefully with this decision today, all of New Zealand will get behind him, because he is in for one hell of a fight against Andy Ruiz. This is going to be a really, really tough fight, and these guys are absolutely determined to give him the best possible chance of winning this title, because it's never, in their dream, it was never to fight for the world title. It was to win the world title and defend it over and over and over again. So that is still the goal for Duco Events. But we can take your questions now. David and Dean are happy to take questions.
What?
How do you raise the money? You need to raise $1 million bucks plus. What are the avenues that are now open to you? I mean, are we talking about big pay-per-view fees, or what's the story?
So there's a range of revenue streams, including sponsorship, corporate hospitality, pay-per-view television, international television. And every revenue stream, we're making a judgment call on how big is it going to be, and there's no way of knowing for certain, so there's risk there. And it's up to him and I to make a decision. Are we going to roll the dice like we have in the past, or are we going to take the safe bet and go to the United States?
What do you need to be able to hold it here in New Zealand?
Well, we've talked about a 7-figure amount that we need in sponsorship. It's a significant amount. We're in the business of risk mitigation, you know, on two sides. One, risk mitigation against financial risk, but two, risk mitigation to try and give Joseph Parker the best possible platform to win this thing. And we personally think the best thing is to have it here in New Zealand. And as I've been saying all week, we've got, you know, fiscal responsibilities to firstly our company and then, of course, to ourselves. So we're going to be, you know, continuing to work with our partners and try and find new partners and look at the modelling on the weekend and see how we go.
And are you talking to any sponsors at the moment? Are you talking to any major sponsors, potential sponsors at the moment?
Look, we are talking to major potential sponsors at the moment, but the clock is ticking. Bob Aaron's given us until November 5. We're going to Las Vegas. Craig and myself and a couple of media are going to Las Vegas on Wednesday to do some business up there as well. So, you know, we'd like to have a decision before then, but time will tell.
Simon?
Dean, why do you think it is that the public didn't get on board with your idea of getting sponsorship in government?
I think the public, there's been some misinformation. So first of all, we would never seek to take money off health or education or anything like that. The public perhaps didn't understand there is an event fund annually. It's set down. That money is for events. We were looking for a slice of that fund, not to take money off any social community type stuff. So that's one point. The next point is we weren't looking for something for nothing. It's a bargain. We were saying to government, we will give you international profile, we'll give you visitation from around the world, GDP into the economy, potential investment opportunities, guys like Bob Aaron coming down, hospitality, community benefit, feel good. You know, there's a lot of events that cater to the upper market yachting, golf, but this is something different. We were saying we will give you all of that. In return, we need this investment. That's not something for nothing, but it sort of got all muddled, and in the end, just looking at all the comments, you know, half of them, there were a lot of haters, and we're not prepared to become pariahs in our own country just for the sake of getting some government money.
And the other side, hold on, and the other side of the coin is this too: is there's obviously a lot of comment negative. There's also a huge amount of positive comment, and there's been a lot of people having their 2 cents worth. And I've got to be honest, when you stimulate opinion like that, it's got to be a good thing. And as Dave have said, we don't want to be divisive with this. Hence, we want to be an all-inclusive New Zealand event where we get behind the home guy and cheer him on if we can get this event here. So we've just seen stuff in the past that's been divisive, and we don't want it to be that.
How much were you looking for from the government? How much were you looking for from the government?
Well, that's confidential in the application, but I think it's on record that it was over $1 million. But it's all swings and roundabouts. Money you lose there, you can make up in other ways. So, as Dean has said, it's up to us to do our homework now and see, can we realistically hold this event in New Zealand, or do we take the safe bet and take it to the United States?
80% chance of it going overseas, you're saying now, Dean. Has this really just shot any chance of this kind of fight ever being held in New Zealand?
No, I don't think so at all. You know, like one of the things you've got to understand, we're in the fight business, and David and myself, we're in the business of risk mitigation, number one, but also we're in the business of problem solving. And this is just another problem we've got in front of us, and we're going to try and solve it as quickly as we possibly can. But this has come up really quickly. Don't forget, it was only 1 month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, that we were talking to Eddie Hearn to fight Anthony Joshua for the number one, to fight Anthony Joshua in England. And unfortunately what happened, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, Tyson Fury vacated the belt, and all of a sudden there's an opportunity for us to fight Andy Ruiz. So in a very short space of time, we've had to raise potentially a huge amount of money for an event that may or may not be here. It's not easy. Would we say that an event will never come here? Well, we definitely can't say that, because if Joseph was to win this thing, we're in control of it, number one, and number two, you know, with longer lead times, all things are possible. But having said that, we are mandated, if Joseph wins this fight, to fight David Hay. Now, there's no way we could hold that fight in New Zealand, because the money on the table in England for both Hay and Joseph would be enormous, and we need to cut a deal, or we need to control the fight up there. After that, we're free of obligation. But, you know, David and myself, and particularly David, and I agree with him on this, has said that the biggest and best thing we can do for Joseph Parker, for his long-term future and for our company's long-term future, is to get him in the ring with Anthony Joshua and get everyone a big payday. So if that was to happen and Joseph was to beat Anthony Joshua, the world's his oyster. And of course, we're talking right now with the biggest promoters in the world, with Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum. You're talking about guys who turn over hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Bob Arum alone was involved in a $1 billion promotion last year with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. It was a fight David and myself went to that had $74 million on the gate. This is a global sport. We'd like to think we can have Joseph here for this fight, and if it's not for this, maybe in the future, but you'd have to say, given the sheer size of what happens overseas, maybe not.
Hang on.
Just getting back to the withdrawal of the bid, if you guys believe there's such a major upside for the country, and you have had quite a bit of positive feedback from the population, is there any other reason why a little bit of negative blowback is deterred this bid or not? Is there any other reason here?
I think it was clear that had the government made an offer, and if we accepted that offer, we would have still had to charge pay-per-view television, tickets, we'd have still charged the public to make it work. And as soon as we went and charged for the TV, there'd be a large section of society that would have us for breakfast. And we're not willing to be pariahs in our own country. It's better to do it another way.
Yep.
Dean, if it doesn't happen here in Auckland, have you got a location in America sorted?
If it doesn't happen here in New Zealand, it won't be us that's controlling the promotion. It'll be Bob Arum from Top Rank. Now, he's talked about LA, which is where Andy Ruiz comes from. He's got an office and he's very active in Las Vegas. We're going to Las Vegas this week for the Manny Pacquiao fight. And then he also did a promotion only a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, with a guy called Canelo Alvarez. He's very good friends with Jerry Jones. David and myself had a good chat with Bob, I think, 2 weeks ago. And he was saying him and Jones get on well, and that Canelo Alvarez, appealing to an Hispanic market, picked up 57,000 people through the gate. This is a big deal to Bob from he runs a lot of Mexican fighters, so he understands the market. And to be fair, he probably developed the market up in America for the Hispanic market. Andy Ruiz is obviously of Mexican descent, and it'll be a big deal for him to win the heavyweight championship of the world, simply because they've never had a heavyweight champion. I think they've had something like 57, 58 world champions. In Mexico, one of the biggest sports that they have is boxing. So, you know, we can quite easily walk offshore, take no risk, and, you know, just see this thing go well. But we really want to do this here from an historical point of view. We like the fact that Joseph Parker, when he walks out, gets a massive cheer from a packed out stadium, and we just try to make the decision as whether we can do it in a fiscally responsible way.
And if the fight happens in New Zealand, where would you like to hold it?
That's up in the air. Like we, you know, there's various options on the table and we just weigh them up on merit. But the first step is to, for us to model whether we can do it here and how we would do it.
Does Joseph care about location, either here or overseas?
Yes, yes. He would love to have it here.
What's the time frame? When do you have to make a call?
Well, look, Bob said we've got until November 5, and you're going to be with us, Pat, up in Las Vegas, so maybe we'll make the decision up there. We'd like to try and get it done before that, but, you know, the reality is this is up in the air. And as we've said, going back 2-3 weeks ago, when we weren't sure whether we were going to be fighting Anthony Joshua, we weren't going to be fighting Andy Ruiz, or maybe Klitschko at that time could have been a contender for the number 2 spot, because he was the number 2 in the WBO. The situation continues to be fluid.
Have you still got support from 18, and is that safe under the new mayor?
Look, AT did step up, and they had a clear appreciation of the benefits. Again, it's not money for nothing. Global profile for Auckland, visitors into Auckland, GDP into the Auckland economy, meeting potential investors, community benefit, feel good. And so they did step up, and frankly, if it wasn't for AT, we probably wouldn't even be here today. We'd already be up in the United States.
How hard is it for Joseph Parker to be able to actually prepare for any kind of fight with so much uncertainty?
Pretty simple, really. Have a think about this. With what he's going to do, he knows 100% he's fighting Andy Ruiz. He knows 100% that he's going to be fighting inside the next 3 to 4 months, and most importantly, he knows that he's getting in a 7x7 metre boxing ring. All it comes down to is where is that fight going to take place, as opposed to, you know, is this going to be here? What does my opponent look like? So they're preparing very hard right now for this. They're working towards a December 10 date, and while we've still got a 20% chance of pulling this in, they will continue to do so until we tell them differently.
As Joseph gets older, he gets immune to all this carry-on because, you know, boxing, and he's very mentally tough. It's one of his strong points, and so he just sticks to the job at hand, which is training.
Having the home advantage is such a major thing. You need to look at the Wallabies at Eden Park, for example. How disappointing is it for you guys and for Joseph not to have that home advantage?
Well, here's the deal.
We haven't said. There
you go.
It's not over yet.
One of the things we do is solve problems.
The thing is, in this business, Dean wore the silver fern and Martin wore the silver fern and did it under pressure and know what it's like when the chips are down to have that home support at home. So that's probably in the back of their minds, I think, and say a little bit how important it is. They know what Joseph will go through.
I mean, we could work out that we're going to make a small loss, and we might decide to do it here anyway, just for the home advantage, take the win, and the next fight will be gigantic. So at the end of the day, it's Dean and I will make a call in the coming days.
How important is that home advantage to his chances of taking the title?
Well, look, I spoke to a bloke yesterday, and they talk about in rugby union it might be worth 15%. If you have a look at the NRL, I think if you bet all year on the team that's going to win at home, there's about 65% chance of you actually going to get your money back. So if it gives Joseph an extra 5%, it's worth being here. If it gives him an extra 10%, well, it's really hard to say no. But again, we keep coming back to this. It's about fiscal responsibility, and this is a massive event. And our biggest problem is if we had a year's lead into this, we'd shrug our shoulders and get on with it. But our biggest problem is a very, very short lead-in time.
So you are prepared to take a loss, perhaps, to stage it here?
We'll look at all options, and if there was a small loss, we'd have to discuss and say
or a large
what are the pros and cons of home advantage versus a loss, and what does the future look like. So at this point, we're not confirming anything. We just got to go do our homework.
Given Joseph really wants to fight here, would you be prepared to take the loss?
Well, that's a decision for David and myself to make. You know, we've got a number of other events on now. We're very, very busy, and it comes down to, are we prepared to take a loss, and how big could it be? Or, you know, how do we think we make money on this thing? Look, the biggest thing, and this is what most people don't get, right? Everyone says to me, oh, you make all your money off the pay-per-view. That's not true. Right? This is a small country. If we're in America or England where they're doing 500,000 pay-per-view buys, that's a correct statement. We don't do that. We have to get 4 streams of revenue correct. You know, number 1 is sponsorship. That's the one you get first and foremost. You lock it in. Number 2 is corporate hospitality. That's tables of 10, which you guys have seen on a regular basis. Number 3 is GA Gate, and number 4 is your pay-per-view. You have to do really well against all 4 just to break even or make money. Now we're going into this with a fight that we've never seen the size of before, including Tour Cameron. This dwarfs Tour Cameron in terms of cost and obviously in terms of profile as well. This has got a real global presence about it. So, and it's a short nature of the beast to put it together. So we'll be looking at all angles. And you know, Dave and myself, there are other options and there are easier options, and when that is going offshore. You know, so that's from a financial point of view.
Dean raised a very good point. There's some more misinformation around, and some of the sentiment was, if we dare accept government money, we can't charge pay-per-view, we should be on free-to-air. I think what people are missing is that the New Zealand Rugby Union and New Zealand Cricket get paid massive amounts of money each year for the broadcast rights. We don't. So, you know, you've got to consider that. We're not paid an annual giant fee from a broadcaster for TV rights, like the New Zealand Rugby Union. So the public are paying, by and large, through subscription or whatever, for those other codes. With boxing, especially huge shows like this, pay-per-view is an important revenue stream, and we ideally needed that in addition to the sponsorship, but it became clear to us that it would be unpalatable for many if we were to do both.
And if we're in a business of risk mitigation, you've got to look at where's our guaranteed revenue. Well, guaranteed revenue number one, once you sign a contract, is sponsorship. And that's why that's such a big deal, and what we're talking about is risk mitigation and getting that sponsorship up front. Because if you haven't got that, you're behind the eight ball all the way through. And what a lot of amateurs do in this game, all right? And we like to think we're professionals, we usually take our time. To give you an example, to get the NRL 9s up and running, it was 3 years. To get the Super 10s up and running, which Dave has managed to do over the last bloody 3 years, it's a 3-year lead-in. And when you've got that sort of time, it's quite easy. But when you're taking boxing, which is, you know, it's a difficult sport to get up and running, mate, sponsorship's hard, but we're working on it, and we're quite, you know, like I said, we're a 20% chance to start here. But also, you know, we've got to get that sponsorship up, so we're on it.
Past Joseph Parker, he's a young man, but past his fighting days, does Duco expect to be a boxing company past Joseph Parker?
Sure. We promote a welterweight named Jeff Thorne. He's the number one pound-for-pound boxer in Australia. I think he's ranked number 2 or number 1 in the world now by the IBF. And we're not looking to sign mediocrity. We're looking for the cream of the crop. We have the top boxer in New Zealand and number 1 prospect in the world, Joseph Parker, and in Australia, Jeff Thorne, welterweight division. He's unbeaten. Same division as Pacquiao, Mayweather, and so forth. And we're growing that stable. So I think there's a real opportunity with Polynesian athletes in particular, with the bone density, the twitch fibre. There's a real opportunity to tap into this huge talent base in New Zealand and the Pacific Islands, and there's a lot of talent there. They just need the right environment, promoters, managers, trainers, etc. So certainly our vision is to grow the sport in this country.
And how's Joe going in his preparation and lead up to the stuff?
I spoke to him this morning and yesterday morning, and he said it's the best camp he's had to date. He's taken on a new weight fitness trainer, and he said the guy's amazing, the best he's worked with, and he's feeling in a really good headspace. He's not worrying about any of this.
Just on the government funding, was there sort of the criteria was maybe a bit shaky, that they don't like to have pay-per-view? Is this a chance? Are you sort of cutting your losses a bit?
Look, there was no discussion or anything in the criteria that talks about pay-per-view TV. We think that any time we apply to any organisation for either, and we don't like to call it funds, we like to call it for a partnership where they give us money and we in return give them benefits which they value. And we think every time we go to a organisation, and be it commercial or be it government, we put up a case that we think we fit the criteria, and given the fact that we are the biggest events company in this country and growing incredibly rapidly both here and internationally, we think we understand how to fulfil those criteria. So yeah, we thought that this event would fit. This is a major event. It is called Major Events New Zealand, but just on the basis of the fact it's become a political hot potato, and as Dave says, we want this to be inclusive and not divisive. We don't want to do that anymore.
I think a couple of statements that Stephen Joyce made were a little bit silly with respect. He put out there that if we gave you money, X amount, and then in return they'd want profile, visitation, investment opportunities, hospitality, it would go into contract. We'd have to deliver all of that. So they give us some money, we deliver all of that, and then he suggested we give all the money back, which is effectively wanting a partnership with us, a sponsorship for free. So it was not us being the freeloaders. To me, that's freeloading. reap the benefit of the event, but then get the money back. And so, I just got a bit fed up and frustrated in the end, and this has been a difficult decision, but I think it's the right decision to withdraw.
So is it that perhaps that government funding wouldn't actually have worked for you?
Well, if they want to support the event, and if they don't.
It would have come down, look, and this is one of the things that people don't understand. To say something in the media and to say something in casual conversation is way different to firstly an offer coming through followed by what's called a term sheet. Now that term sheet details exactly how that offer is made up and what commitments go against it. So we didn't receive an offer and we didn't receive a term sheet. So before we did, we thought, what the heck, we'll just pull out of the process and put this back into the court of public opinion and go, we want it, as we said, to be inclusive. We want everyone to be behind Joseph, whether it's here or overseas.
See, this is also a big fight for the Rees. I guess obviously his camp, his managers, they'll probably be asking for a big purse.
Of course they are.
Give us an indication on how many things are in with that.
Seven-figure, including the person costs in New Zealand dollar amount, it's seven-figure sum.
And don't forget, it's US dollars.
Yeah.
Does it make you angry that the government's backed the America's Cup and events like that in the past?
No. It goes back to the bargain. The government should be looking at the benefits versus investment and making decisions based on that. And we think our events stacked up solidly based on our collective experience. We've never been supported by government, but this one certainly, in our opinion, stacked up solidly.
All right, we'll have one more question and we'll leave.
You said it was above $1 million in funding. Is it above $2 million?
No.
Above.
Take his figure of mine now as to where it should be.
If you hold the event in New Zealand, will you also have local fighters in the card?
Yes.
All right, we'll end it there. Thank you very much for your attendance today, and we will not be making any further comment today, and hope you have a good weekend. You guys have got to have a few grey hairs. All right, we're done.
Thank you.